Hey everybody, it's Mr. Anderson coming to you one more time with our last unit in Chapter 8, Section 8.2.5. And our job today is to figure out how we can take an equation that is given to us in standard form and write it in graphing form, even if that equation is not factorable. And this idea is called completing the square. And it is a difficult idea, but I think I've got a way today that is going to be helpful, and it's going to allow you to break through. Ton of reasons why you'd want to do this, but the one that is going to, I think, make the most sense whenever or however you're watching this video is that this concept, mastery of this concept, is without a doubt going to make you a more effective problem solver. Transitioning between forms of the same equation is going to allow you to do different things with it, and then, of course, maybe approach and attack problems in different ways. So, as always, I've got some modified notes that I've pulled from our text, but again, this is section 8.2.5, and we're going to look at how we can take a function in standard form, quadratic function in standard form, and write it in graphing form. So we're going to start with 8-89, and I've got the function that we're going to use highlighted here. It's y equals x squared plus 8x plus 10, and our job is to use the zero product property to find the vertex of this. And really, this is asking us to do some factoring. We've got the area as a sum here. We want to write the area as a product, and I'm going to show you that I kind of set this up ahead of time using some CPM tiles. And remember, when we're factoring, that our job is to go ahead and build a rectangle, okay? And I mean, you guys can play with this. I'm going to kind of speed through this. I'm just building these tiles this way, and remember, the job is to do this with no gaps, no overlaps, and well, here we go. I'm trying to just, build these things up. I've got, 2 here. This is, by the way, x squared plus 8x plus 10, and I'm just starting to build these things, no gaps, no overlaps, and it's looking pretty good. The build is slow, but here we go. All right, I'm doing great so far. This looks like I got a little gap there. There we go. Doing great so far, but I get to this point, and it doesn't matter where you place some of these, you're going to run into this problem, okay, right? If I drag these down here now, dang it, I'm in this situation again. I've used all my tiles, but I've got a gap here that doesn't allow me to create a rectangle, and it doesn't matter if I drag this down here now, right? I'm gonna run into this problem. Okay, well, I heard from a couple of you when we were starting our journey on this initially that, you actually had some pretty good ideas. You said, Anderson, I'm just going to go grab some more tiles. And that's 100% what we want you to do here. But we got to follow some rules for doing this. And the rules are as such that allow us to complete the square, right? So I'm going to go back to this. And I'm going to just remind you that, the answer to the what went wrong, well, this is a situation that's not factorable. How could we work around this? Well, we're going to work around it in a second once we complete the square. But to confirm that it's not factorable, to confirm that we don't have those nice integer roots, I went ahead too and I graphed this thing on Desmos. Just Desmos.com, I typed in my function, and you guys can see for sure here, this is between -6 and -8. Doesn't look like it's -7, and checking for that intercept confirms that it is not -7. It is, in fact, a decimal. This one's also a decimal. So how could I write this thing in graphing form? It's actually not too bad, especially if you're willing to just goof around with some algebra tiles, okay? So I've got this set up. I intentionally did this way, where I have an even number of my x's down here and an even number of my x's up here. Now, what the heck am I going to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is, you can see I've got my backgrounds out here. I'm going to go ahead and get out an equation mat. This is something that we used a long time ago in like a previous chapter, maybe like chapter 2, chapter 3, probably even a little bit in chapter 1. And then I'm going to go back to my tiles, right? I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to open this one up, go back to my tiles, and I'm going to put out here a y, right? And you might be saying, Anderson, what the heck are you doing that for? Well, that's actually literally what this says. It says y equals, and then it's got all these tiles over here on the other side. I've actually just built exactly what it says on the equation. Okay? And now we're going to start to go through this process. This process, again, is called completing the square. The process looks like this, okay? I want to have only x's on my left-hand side because my right-hand side. Because my goal, and you can kind of see how I've got this set up here, my goal is literally to take this thing and turn it into a square. So for the time being, I'm just going to take all these units and I'm going to bring them over here. Now, there's some rules we have to follow mathematically, and you guys know that when we take something across the equal sign in an equation, you have to change the sign. It's called an inverse operation. It's like adding the opposite or subtracting. So I've got to do this. Okay? Oh, I'm trying to change them. They're not working. There we go. I've got to do this, and I've got to make all these negative. Okay? And I can actually do the exact same thing right here. I can just take this, and I can bring that 10 over here, and I can write y minus 10 equals x squared plus 8x. And it's an equivalent form of the same equation. Okay? But now, what in the heck do I need to put here to make that a square, right? Completing the square. I want to, I wish I could dash a line here. I want to build this in, okay? And if you're building along with me, pause the video because I'm going to pause the video and then it's just going to magically appear. But build that in there and see what happens. So there it is. I went ahead real quick and I just input enough unit tiles into that, rectangle, that square, to make it a square, to fill it in, to make it whole. And if you spend some time here, you're going to count these. You realize we got a 4x4 dark blue rectangle here, and that makes a total of 16. So here's what I did. I went ahead on this left-hand side, and I added 16. Okay, now look at that. Because if that looks fishy to you, if I just left it alone the way it is now, you're right. Because we know, and we've spent a ton of time looking at this mathematically, that if I add something to the left-hand side, the right-hand side, I've got to do it to the left-hand side as well, okay? So I really, if I'm being technically correct, I should do this over here as well. And ta-da, there it is, right? You can see that I added these on the left, the right, and now I've got them over here on the left, and I've got some stuff that maybe looks complicated, so let's use a couple of our rules to simplify. All right, we can go ahead and do that, and real quick before we do that, you can see that I added 16 to the left-hand side as well, and we will do some simplifying here symbolically, but let's talk about what that looks like. I'm going to take these, and I'm going to kind of put them over here, and you guys know those negatives and those positives cancel each other out, and we're going to do that here in just a second. It's going to happen magically, and ta-da, there it is, right? There's what's left over. It looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unit tiles. And as we simplify here, that makes sense to us because we know that if we take a negative 10 and a positive 16, it works out to be 6. So here's what I've done, 8x and then 16, right? And now conveniently, that matches exactly what we've got here. But it doesn't necessarily look the same because this is in standard form, but now I've got this in a rectangle, which means I can write it in factored form using those dimensions. And if I don't do that, then this whole thing has been a waste of time. So let's consider, just for a moment, leaving the left-hand side alone, the y and the 6, but now let's write this as a product, the area as a product. And recall, we use the dimensions for that. I know that this is an x squared tile, but it has a dimension of x and a dimension of x. Likewise, this is an x tile, but this dimension right here is 1. So this is x and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. But I don't write it like that. I take all those ones and I group them. They become 4. So realistically, this becomes, for the base, x and 4 more. Now check this out because this is the part that makes this whole thing worthwhile. In a square, your base and your height are the same. That's a property of a square we've been using since we were littles, right? So this is going to be x and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, or x and 4 as well, right? Look at that. Now, we're not done yet. We're almost there, but we're going to continue to use some properties of this. I'm going to continue with the y and the 6 on the left, but I'm going to rewrite because I notice that I'm multiplying by the exact same thing. I'm multiplying x and 4 by x and 4, so I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 4 squared. Okay, now I'm getting close. I'm getting really gosh darn close to graphing or vertex form, but I'm not quite there yet. And let me show you how we're going to get there. I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to drag it over here. And just like we did before, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change all of these to negatives, because as we take something across the equal sign, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go ahead and reverse that sign. And the same thing can happen here, right? I don't get to just pick it up and drag it. I've got to subtract it, okay? And here they cancel, right? That's what we've been working on. And over here, I've got this, right? And some of us are going to look at this and think the following, okay? You're going to think, hey, Anderson, why don't I just take these and do like you did before and just drag them down here and do some canceling, all right? And we can talk about this a couple of different ways. Number one, then I don't have the ability to keep this in factored form. I got to go ahead and start taking this apart, and the negative there would be that I can't easily identify some of the things that I'm interested in, which I'll talk about in a second. Additionally, here, trying to bring this -6 inside the parentheses is going to force me to break some rules with my order of operations, right? You guys know that I would need to address those parentheses first, and then do that multiplication, then combine the like terms, right? But I have what I want. I have what I set out for. I have this thing. We started in a standard form, and I've written it in graphing or vertex form. Now we can go ahead. There's quite a few benefits here, right? Number one, this might be a more simplified form for you. Okay, maybe this is a little nicer or cleaner. It kind of depends on your own interests. But the other thing that we can now quickly do, and I couldn't do this with the form in red up there, but I can now quickly do it here, where I can identify the vertex. Okay, and we've spent a couple lessons now working on this, but our vertex, when this is in this format, in graphing form, right? Graphing form looks like this, and I'm just going to kind of put it over the top. X minus h squared plus k. Okay, we've got a link here. We've got a link. Oh, that's a bad color for a highlight here. Let me do this. Let's see, does that work any better? There we go. We've got a link for h, we've got a link for k, and now I can go ahead and I can write that vertex, because maybe that's the question that I'm after. And maybe I couldn't graph. Maybe I couldn't build a table, right? Maybe there were some issues, right? Okay, so what in the heck are they? Well, k is pretty gosh darn straightforward, okay? Whatever you see is kind of what you get. In this case, k, my y coordinate of my vertex is going to be the -6 value that you see. Okay, but look at h, because h is not necessarily positive. Okay, if you're going to write down h as 4, well, we don't quite have it. What we have is this over here. -h equals +4, right? Because if you didn't catch this already, ladies and gents, right, it's x minus h. So we've got to really just do a little thinking, and we've got to switch the sign on that, or multiply both sides by -1 and get h is equal to -4. And changing that into vertex form allows me to very easily extract that very, very important information from my quadratic expression there, right? The vertex is a very, very crucial point for so many reasons, especially when we get into some further situation problem solving, okay? Ladies and gents, there is a tiny bit of review preview here. We can see it here at the bottom. It is 106 and 107. These are multi-part problems, right? They're going to have a couple of different A's, B's, and C's. So there is only 2, but it's really a little bit more than 2. But none of the things are going to be a waste of your time, right? These are things that we want you to try because they're asking you questions. And if you can answer them, great. Answer them and move on. But if you can't, then we need to get ourselves in a position to do some asking, okay? Folks, I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.